time when Jammu and Kashmir is embracing democracy, Pakistan is obviously rattled. In yet another display of its angst, Pakistani Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif chose the United Nations platform to rant against India. First came the usual plebiscite in Kashmir bogie and baseless allegations of brutal oppression by India. And then, perhaps in a betrayal of the real reason why it is spooked, Sharif said that India's leadership has often threatened to cross the line of control and take over Azad Kashmir, the land that has in fact been illegally occupied by Pak itself.
To cross the line of control and take over Azad Kashmir. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. President, let me state in no uncertain terms that Pakistan will respond most decisively to any Indian aggression.
Shehbaz Sharif also went on to equate the situation in Jammu and Kashmir to that of Palestine. And after that, in a brutal takedown of that blatant propaganda, External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar said that a country whose only significant export is terror and whose GDP can only be measured in terms of radicalization should expect no impunity and be ready for the consequences of its actions.
Terrorism is antithetical of everything that the world stands for. But some make conscious choices with disastrous consequences. A premier example is our neighbor, Pakistan. Unfortunately, their misdeeds affect others as well, especially the neighborhood. When this polity instills such fanaticism among its people, its GDP can only be measured in terms of radicalization and its exports in the form of terrorism. Today, we see the ills it sought to visit on others consume its own society. It can't blame the world. This is only karma. Madam President, a dysfunctional nation coveting the lands of others must be exposed and must be countered. Pakistan's cross-border terrorism policy will never succeed.
And this ripping apart of Pakistan on international platform comes even as India celebrates anniversary of 2016 surgical strikes, and one wonders if our neighbor is unnerved by how determined India has become about reclaiming its rights. A sample in some of the reactions right from the Prime Minister to Yogi Adityanath, UP CM, campaigning in Jammu and Kashmir.
आज 28 सितंबर है। मैं आपको याद कराता हूं, 28 सितंबर की रात को ही हमने सर्जिकल स्ट्राइक की हुई थी। भारत ने आतंक के आकाओं को बता दिया था कि भारत अब घर में घुसकर मारता है। और कांग्रेस ने क्या किया था? कांग्रेस ने हमारी सेना से सर्जिकल स्ट्राइक के सबूत मांगे थे।
पाकिस्तान आज परेशान है दो कारणों से। एक, अपने ही कर्मों की सजा भुगत रहा है। बलूचिस्तान कहता हमें पाकिस्तान में नहीं रहना, क्योंकि बलूचिस्तान के लोग कहते हैं, बलूचिस्तान के लोग कहते हैं कि साहब पाकिस्तान की हुकूमत कहती सारे विदेशी है। ये बलूचिस्तान के लोग अपने को अलग कह रहे हैं।
Joining us now on the broadcast is Mr. Ashok Sajjanhar, who's a former ambassador, and Faraz Saeed, a journalist, also joins us from Islamabad. Mr. Sajjanhar, your first impression of Pakistan's speech in UNGA, do you think it is an outcome of fear, concern, or a change of their international strategy? Because they've seemingly pushed more for PoK, spoken less about their usual J&K.
Yeah, I think, Pakistan has started sounding like a broken record, because it mentions about this every year. And you would have seen there is not a single other country that raises the issue of Kashmir, that refers to Kashmir. Even after 2019, you would recall that when Article 317 was abrogated, Article 35A was removed, we had Imran Khan going there and rambling on and on and on for 45 minutes. You know, the usual time that's given to the heads of state for making the statement in the UN is 15 minutes. He went on for 45 minutes, totally disjointed. Still, there was no one from the international community who would come and who would speak, except Erdogan, except Turkey. Turkey this year, Turkey also has, stopped referring to Kashmir. So they have no support whatsoever. It's basically for their domestic constituency, for the domestic part of the domestic agenda that we've gone there and we have raised Kashmir in a very strong manner. And, the world has taken note. The world is not interested in what Pakistan is saying about Kashmir and all. Whatever Mr. Shehbaz Sharif might say, he might bang the table and all that sort of things. It's not going to have any impact. The world is not interested. The world has moved on. And that's what, our External Affairs Minister also told Pakistan, smell the coffee. It's history. 370 is history. He was also, Shehbaz Sharif was also talking about, Article 370, you bring it back, then we'll start talking. But, we stopped talking to Pakistan much before that. After the Balakot strikes, after Pulwama, they had struck in Pulwama. And we said, till you keep on supporting terror, there is going to be no talk with you. Now, the only unfinished agenda, as the External Affairs Minister said, is how to get the territory illegally occupied by Pakistan. Indian territory illegally occupied by Pakistan, how to get it back. That is the only unfinished agenda.
So, Mr. Faraz Saeed, because the world is not interested and because your PM, as Mr. Sajjanhar said, sounds like a broken record, is that why, as a clickbait headline, perhaps Shehbaz Sharif decided to equate Palestine with Kashmir? Just to perhaps get some attention because there is going to be no other outcome of his statements.
You see, first of all, thank you so much for giving me time on this. There's a principled stand on behalf of Pakistan's government that they will continue to raise Kashmir issue on global forums, specifically in General Assembly and United Nations, because UN has passed resolutions on Kashmir and we have been pushing for it to be implemented as per the UN's guidelines. However, I also understand that UN General Assembly speeches have no impact at all. We've seen Israeli Prime Minister lecturing us on human rights. We've seen the American president lecturing us on human rights. We've seen a lot of other presidents and prime ministers talking at length. But speeches in UN General Assembly should not be taken really seriously. I mean, the governments may have, the government heads may go there and show pompous on that big dice. But as a journalist, I've seen UN General Assemblies and their sessions and the speeches there only make headlines. That is it. But as far as Pakistan's stance on Kashmir is concerned, we have a principled stance. Come what may, the world is busy. The world is busy in its own affairs. But we can never forget what happened in Kashmir, how India has illegally occupied the territory, and how the application of Article 370, which was right in negation of what was promised to Dogra when India occupied Kashmir. So we have our stance. The government of Pakistan has its stance, and the government will stay, true to its historic stance. The government of Pakistan will not change its stance, whatever the world thinks. We understand how Middle East is in crisis. We understand how Palestine is the bigger issue. It is the responsibility of the government. It is the responsibility of every Prime Minister of Pakistan, every President of Pakistan to raise Kashmir on global forums, because again, the people of Pakistan stand with Kashmir. The people of Pakistan, the government of Pakistan will continue to reiterate its stance that they want Kashmir, the people of Kashmiri to decide their future, and not through the application of Article 370 or the forced elections that is going on in Kashmir right now. So
Mr. Sajjanhar, perhaps a reflection of things that you said coming from Islamabad, that even people from the country think that whatever Mr. Sharif says at UNGA is nothing but pompous statements. Too much
No,
sound and
that's
fury
right, but-
signifying nothing.
Yeah, but I think whatever Mr. Faraz is saying, in the sense that what are they really talking about? They're talking about, that there should be referendum for which there was, some decision earlier. Now, India has had so many elections in Kashmir right now also. 3-phase election taking place, all of it very powerful, very peaceful, notwithstanding any support to terror, any support to disrupt the elections that is being carried out from across the border by Pakistan. But the people, I think they want peace. They have tasted peace. So I think Pakistan should let it be and let the people live in peace. They are very happy. We have had so much of investment coming into that place. We had even the G20 session, and out of which all the countries except maybe 1 or 2, I think China did not come for its own reasons, and all the other countries participated. Even the UAE was there, Egypt was there, all the countries, even the Muslim countries participated. So it's peaceful, and even as far as legally, the 370 was a temporary provision. This temporary provision continued from 1955 to 2019, and this is our constitution. Meaning, who is Pakistan to dictate what we should be doing as far as provisions of our constitution are concerned? They have no locus standi there. We don't dictate on what they should be doing on their constitution. Also, the Maharaja of Kashmir acceded to India in so many words. There is legal provisions on that. So, I think on every subject, whether it is legally or it is situation on the ground or the elections that have taken place, free and peaceful elections that have taken place, I think there is no cause for, Pakistan might continue with this sort of a thing. But if the people there are also feeling that it is a fruitless exercise, it is a worthless exercise, then I think it is time to move on really, rather than keep on barking up that tree, so to
Faraz,
say.
when you say that Pakistan is being consistent in what it says and does, do you think that is a problem? Because just as Mr. Jaishankar said, then actions have consequences. Perhaps the consequences that you're facing right now, where he equates your GDP with radicalization, exports with terror, you need to change your actions.
I mean, as far as the terror is concerned in Pakistan, the world suffers from historic amnesia. They forget that the Afghan jihad was brought here by the Americans. It was the Americans who radicalized people on the border, and they fought a war against the Soviets, and they were instrumental in breaking down the Soviets. And then it is the Hillary Clinton, the former foreign secretary of the U.S. and the former first lady of the U.S., who said that we left behind our mess, the American mess, for the Pakistanis to grapple with, and we were grappling with the terror mess for past 20 years. We've lost.
But all the more reason, Faraz, for the country to focus on its own problems instead of worrying about what is happening in India.
Yeah, if you go back, remember that we were on the FATF grey list, and now we're not. And if I recall, as latest as I sound, FATF has issued some of the instruments and messages to the New Delhi government, that they need to keep their act in check, because again, there has been India has seen more developments on terror financing and spillage of nuclear material. So I mean, we're out of FATF, we're out of a lot of blacklist things, but the world is also looking into how India is sponsoring terror across the world.
India is sponsoring terror.
Yes, the Canadian Prime Minister is on record. You're killing Sikh leaders on Canadian soil. On
Mr. Sajjanhar, final response.
Yeah, final response is, meaning what Canadian Prime Minister, since he's invoked him, he says we have credible allegations. Allegations can never be credible. The second is FATF. What they have told India is they have put India in the gold category. only 4 countries are there. We said that your performance has been superb. So I would suggest to Mr. Faraz that please go and read the report of the FATF. They have applauded India for the way that it has conducted itself,
Yes.
the way in which it has dealt with any of the money laundering issues, etc., etc. They have been very appreciative, and they have given laudatory comments on India, rather than sort of, telling India that, you need to watch out. And in any case, as far as Pakistan is concerned, it is still under the lens, under the magnifying glass of the FATF. FATF did tell them that we are removing you from the grey category, but you have to meet these requirements, otherwise you will be back again in the grey category.
Right.
So you have to watch your steps very carefully, Mr. Faraz, as to how Pakistan is
Perhaps
conducting it.
delusion might be a solution for some people in that country, because when somebody like Shehbaz Sharif says that they are going to respond to Indian aggression, which is a lie in the first place, in equal measure, it looks like they are trying to punch slightly above their weight. But thank you, gentlemen, for joining us for this discussion. Time for us to take a very quick break.